Let's welcome in our buddy. Most every week we have him on, Adam Munsterteiger. Follow him at Adam CM777 as our co-host on the Rockin Company's Rockin CU segment, making Colorado beautiful. Natural stone construction for 5 decades. Rockin Company, rockinco.com, and Zadie's Deli, where they are hitting it out of the park with those great overstuffed sandwiches. Their homemade corned beef, the other deli treats. Down there, free parking front and back in Cherry Creek at 121 Adams Street. And they catered, was down there twice in the last week. Wonderful food. And good morning, Adam.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We are swell. Colorado Buffs are reaching as far as they can reach now for help with the Hoops team. We got a new addition.
Yeah, they've got a new signee, Lazar Nikolic. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. He's from Serbia, 6'6" guy that can shoot, pass, and rebound, so that all sounds good. And Tad Boyle mentioned that he's good at playing in pick-and-roll situations. I think the question here is going to be whether or not he's athletic enough to guard in the Pac-12 and whether or not he's athletic on the offensive end to create. You look at it, and I know CU fans are frustrated with the basketball season, and bringing in another European guy, there's some fans that were kind of down on this signing. You look at the last 3 Europeans they brought in under Tad Boyle, and they didn't really pan out. So there's certainly some skepticism here. But I think Nikolic, he does look more polished than Akizili, Guzinic, and Stradin when you look at at the little film there is out there of him.
And you guys have that, by the way, on buffstampede.com. Let's tell people, go there to get a look at Nikolic.
Yeah, he certainly can shoot, and being 6'6", he's going to be able to get that shot off. Again, I think it's the real question here is just going to be the athleticism, and so we'll see when he gets on campus this summer. They are going over to Europe. You can do that, I think, every 4 or 5 years as a college program, and knowing that they're going to have a younger team this year, Tad Boyle used this year to go over there so they can get some exhibition games overseas, and that should help them a little bit. So we'll see when he gets on campus. But again, I think he will be a guy that you can at least rely on as a shooter on the perimeter.
Okay, and he will play the 2. Looking at next year, they still now have one more scholarship to go. We should tell people that it wasn't highly publicized, but you have discovered where Bryce Peters will wind up.
Yeah, he's going to Northwest Florida, a junior college. So it's one of the best junior colleges in terms of on-court success. I think they reached the Final Four for the JUCOs this past season. So good competitive situation for him. We did hear about some of his academic issues at CU, so I think this is certainly a chance to not only get that back on track, but also to impress Division I programs again. And it's up to him, basically. As Tad Boyle said many, many times in Boulder, he doesn't worry about Bryce Peters on the court. He worries about him off the court. So we'll see if he can kind of turn things around. He's certainly got all the potential in the world.
Shame to lose that talent. Smart move by Bryce Peters to go JC and reopen his opportunities should he straighten his off-the-court life out to get a chance to go back to play at a high Division I level. He is a talented kid. Let's take a brief departure here before we go on and maybe talk a little bit about the other recruiting news going on at University of Colorado. Article in the paper today, and I haven't a chance to look at see if you guys carried this as well. But Eddie Lopez moving from defensive tackle to tight end, for me, totally unexpected. Is this a case where suddenly Colorado has some depth on that defensive line that has to be entirely replaced, the starters anyway?
Well, it's a combination of them having a little bit of depth, bringing in some junior college mid-year guys that kind of, fill in the gaps with losing your 3 defensive line starters from last year. But it's also, frankly, Eddie Lopez just really hadn't stood out on the defensive line. This is a guy that came in as a true freshman and so showed some promise. His sophomore season, he missed almost all of it with an ankle injury and just kind of got passed over. And so this was a situation, you've got a guy that's buried on the depth chart that's not going to see action on the defensive line. Let's try to find a way to get him some type of role on this football team. And Eddie Lopez had played on the offensive side of the ball as well in high school, so he had a little bit of history there. And you look at a lack of depth at inside linebacker is one of those spots, and with George Frazier cross-training at tight end and defensive line, you need a little help there on offense, a guy that can come in short yardage situations and help block. And maybe every once in a while you throw a trick play in there and move him out and get him the ball on a pass route, but I think this is at least an experiment to try to get him part of the mix, because he frankly wasn't going to be part of the mix on the defensive line in 2017.
Very good. Before we get back to more recruiting, especially on the football side, I know a little bit of a departure. BuffStampede.com follows the major sports, men's basketball and football, and it's what I read for all of those things. But you guys are kind of excited about the Pac-12 golf tournament.
Well, yeah, it's the first time that the CU men's golf team is going to be hosting its conference tournament since 1972, and it's going to be next week at Boulder Country Club. They had a great media day event for us this last week, and try to get the word out that this event is free. So if you enjoy golf, certainly no reason not to attend this. Take the family out there. We've got a chance to walk around the course, beautiful course. You can go to bouldercc.org, and you can look at the full schedule of events. It's going to be basically starting next week with the practice rounds on Thursday, and then they're going to start the tournament with 36 holes on Friday morning. It goes through Sunday. And CU's pretty good. They're ranked 25th going into the Pac-12 tournament, and Oregon actually has Denver native Wyndham Clark, who has the best scoring average in the country this season. So a couple storylines there to follow at the tournament.
I've always said, as my friends have all gotten older, all of them have turned to one or both of the big G's, God and or golf. And me, I would much rather watch golf than play it. I used to enjoy actually walking around the International. We do our Saturday morning radio shows on K-Big from the International during that tournament. So that sounds like a good time. What's the biggest news? What is it? Is it University of Colorado chasing a transfer point guard in basketball, or some of the football recruiting?
Oh, well, I think just in basketball, one guy can make such a big difference. So I would say picking up, trying to get a transfer guard in. The problem there is that the guys that have been targeting have been getting scooped up by other schools, and then that pool, which was pretty large a couple weeks ago, is getting small. And right now, we're not quite sure. I mean, as Tad Boyle says, they have their oars in the water, and they're trying. In terms of football, they did pick up a new commit this week in Josh Gines, a big 6'3", 310-pound interior offensive lineman from DeSoto, which if you know Texas high school football, you know DeSoto. They won the state championship last year, and Gines didn't give up any sacks on that team. He's actually only rated a 2-star, though. He's just kind of categorized by Greg Powers, our recruiting analyst, as a steady guy but not a spectacular guy. So, but again, he plays against the best competition in Texas, which is the best competition in the country. So that should certainly serve him well in the future.
And if you follow University of Colorado football, you know some of the best recruits they've had in years have come out of DeSoto High School in Texas and will be on the field in the fall.
Yeah, actually, Josh Gines' cousin, Katie Nixon, signed with the Buffaloes in February. He's going to be a really dynamic, kind of a slot back type guy that you can use both as a running back and in the slot. And then Laviska Shenault, the 4-star receiver, signed with them in February from DeSoto. So it's certainly not a bad school to continue to cultivate that pipeline at, and certainly part of the reason that they're bringing Gines in from DeSoto.
Let's take a moment and tell people what's coming up in BuffStampede.com, and like me, they should subscribe.
Yeah, well, we just started releasing our post-spring position feature, so kind of a recap position by position of how the Colorado Buffaloes football roster looks, tracking the men's basketball recruiting as they try to fill up that remaining scholarship, and the spring evaluation is ongoing, and they just extended an offer to another in-state prospect from Regis High School pass rusher Jake Heimlicher. So a lot of recruiting as well on BuffStampede.com.
Adam, thank you once again, and we'll talk in the future.
Yep, fun as always, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. At AdamCM777. Follow him on Twitter, and that is BuffStampede.com is the publication he edits for Scout. And that was Rockin Company's Rockin CU. Making Colorado beautiful, natural stone construction, 5 decades. Rockin Company, rockinco.com, and Zadie's Deli. They sling touchdowns, those great sandwiches stuffed with homemade corned beef, the other deli treats. Free parking front and back in Cherokee, 121 Adams Street, and they cater. Zadie's Deli. When we come back, Broncos schedule.